Hello and welcome into NFL Total Access. I'm Omar Reese, and we're now less than a week away from the 2021 NFL Draft. 6 days to be precise. Precision, one of Mac Jones' strong suits. We'll tell you how far that might take him up or down the draft board. Our Super Bowl champs are here, James Jones and Michael Robinson, plus a very special guest, ESPN and Monday Night Football's Louis Riddick joins us in a minute as well. But we start with another blockbuster trade shaking up the first round of the draft. The Ravens are sending Pro Bowl tackle Orlando Brown to the Chiefs in exchange for Kansas City's first-round pick. A few more selections are involved, and for more on this trade, let's welcome in our NFL Network insider, Ian Rappaport. Ian, you reported a couple months ago Orlando Brown wanted out of Baltimore, and now he gets his wish. What more can you tell us about how this deal came together?
And not only did he want out of Baltimore, he wanted to play left tackle, wanted to uphold the legacy of his father, and just viewed that as where he should be playing, especially because he played so well last year at left tackle for the Ravens, who have Ronnie Stanley coming back from an injury. So what Baltimore did was trade Orlando Brown and make him the blindside protector for Patrick Mahomes. Here's the deal. You're seeing it right there. Mainly Orlando Brown and a 2 and a future 6. And the Ravens get a first, a third, a fourth, and a future 5. You put all that together, Omar, it is essentially the value of the number 45th overall selection. So basically, they traded him for a 2. Couple important things here. The Chiefs did not believe they could get a tackle of this caliber at number 31 in the draft. That is why they made this trade, obviously protecting Patrick Mahomes of the utmost importance. I am told Orlando Brown is expected to play out his deal, so no extension is coming. And then, of course, as I mentioned, despite the fact that the Ravens traded a Pro Bowler who played left tackle last year, they also get Ronnie Stanley back to play left tackle this year. They have a hole on the right side, but obviously a little different for Baltimore.
We know Patrick Mahomes walks on water in Kansas City, and to paraphrase the Big Lebowski, nobody messes with the Jesus, certainly pouring a lot of investment into protecting Patrick Mahomes. And he was all smiles, tweeting the happy face on his Twitter earlier today when he found out that Orlando Brown is now a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. And much more on the draft discussion. Let's say hello to James Jones, Michael Robinson, and ESPN's Louis Riddick, who'll be on the big stage in Cleveland next week. We are cordial here at NFL Total Access, Louis, so we'll start with you. The 49ers got all this trading in the draft started last month as they moved up to number 3 overall, presumably for a quarterback. Who do you think the 49ers should take there at number 3 if it's not Mac Jones?
Look, if it's not Mac, I think Trey Lance from North Dakota State makes a lot of sense. Number one, because of the way that the quarterback room is constructed in San Francisco, with their intent on keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around at least for 2021. Trey needs that. Trey needs that veteran presence. He would tell you that. His coaches will tell you that. Any quarterback coach, quarterback guru would tell you that he would need a year, ideally, to go ahead and kind of get his feet settled and get his base settled and then take off in 2022. Number two, if you watch how the offense was constructed at North Dakota State, it looks just like a Kyle Shanahan type of offense. It looks just like a Matt LaFleur, an Arthur Smith type of offense. A lot of 12 personnel, a lot of pre-snap shifts and motions, a lot of play-action pass, wide zone running game on first and second down. And then third down, the drop-back game looks very similar to what Kyle likes to do. So you have the fit, you have the familiarity, you have a young man who right now is absolutely blowing away people as far in the pre-draft process as far as his football intellect, his maturity, his grasp of pro-style concepts, especially when you're talking about the drop-back passing game. I think he just makes perfect sense. He doesn't go there, he needs to go to Atlanta. If he doesn't go to Atlanta, there's going to be a team that's moving up quickly to get him. So, you know, either way, Trey Lance is winning, man. He's winning regardless because people know how good he is and people are coming to get him.
Louis, man, that's why I rock with you so much, big dog, because you're absolutely right. That style of a quarterback is perfect for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Now, I do agree Trey Lance is a year away. But when I look at other quarterbacks in this draft, the guy that's ready to play right now, and that's Ohio State's Justin Fields. This kid is amazing, right? We've seen his athletic ability. We've seen his ability to play well in big games. And James, you know what I'm talking about. I talk about it on the show all the time. I don't need my quarterback to be good when everything's perfect. I need my quarterback to be elite. I need my quarterback to be the difference maker. When we're down, we might be outmanned offensively. And to me, Justin Fields is the guy to do that. In every big game, this kid has showed up. People talk about him throwing the football and maybe having some whatever work habits or whatever that stuff may be off the field. 78 touchdowns, which led the FBS in the last 2 years. Come on, man. These guys don't just grow on trees. If I'm Kyle Shanahan in the San Francisco 49ers, I'm looking at Justin Fields. I'm looking at the two-time Big Ten Player of the Year to be my quarterback of the future going forward.
Mike Rob, let's not run him off the show, man. We want Lewis to come back, man, but we're going to tag team him. Because I agree. I'm looking at Kyle Shanahan and what Kyle Shanahan does. He's the most, he does the most with his offense. He's the most creative out of any head coach in the National Football League with his offense. Then you plug in a guy like Justin Fields, who not just will beat you with his arm and can make every throw, but will beat you with his legs too. You putting that with Kyle Shanahan in this offense, man, I would love to see him with the San Francisco 49ers and let Kyle Shanahan get his hands on him and let him be creative with this guy. I think this Niners offense will be explosive and take this team to a whole nother level. I believe Justin Fields is the guy, and Kyle Shanahan is the right coach for him to put him in the best situation to go out there and succeed and continue to throw these touchdowns and run these touchdowns and be the most explosive player out there. And we've seen him in the national championship. He made Trevor Lawrence look like he was the second best quarterback in the draft. This is the guy right here if you have a chance to go get him.
Yeah, I'm gonna counter y'all with two things. Number one, I'm just gonna say this. Look, I love Justin Fields. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Justin Fields fan, but just remember this. Trey Lance ran for 1,100 yards now. I know he ran for 1,100 yards in the FCS, but if you look at this man up close, look, this is a big boy now. This guy wasn't running for 1,100 yards just on broken plays and off scheduled plays. They were running quarterback power, quarterback counter, quarterback draw, and this guy was running over people looking like Steve McNair, looking like Josh Allen. Number two, I will say this. Look, I'm not going to speak to Justin Fields and/or disparage him in any way, in conjunction with some of this nonsense that you're hearing about, just how much he's committed to the game and all that stuff. I think that's just ridiculous. We know how it goes as far as the pre-draft run-up is with that. But I will tell you this, what I do know. I do know this. I do know that Trey Lance in the pre-draft run-up in his interviews is killing it as far as these interviews are concerned. His ability to explain how complicated this offense was, remember, it's the same offense that Carson Wentz ran. There are many people who believe that he is even ahead of Carson Wentz from a football intellect standpoint and his ability to understand and communicate to offensive players like y'all as far as what he's looking for pre-snap, where the ball's coming post-snap, and he's going to get it to you guys. He's that far along, although he still has a little bit, more to go. And then I'll say this lastly about Kyle Shanahan's offense. To me, although there's a lot of talk about the fact that, and I agree with you, from a defensive perspective, there's nothing worse than a quarterback that can still burn you when it isn't perfect for them, that can still get you with his legs. And I think Trey can do that. But the thing with his offense is this. Kyle feels as though I have so much that I give defenses pre-snap, and then as far as motions and shifts are concerned, there's not going to be too often that you don't have an option in my offense. I'm just looking at it from his perspective, right? So I think for him, I think the most important thing that they need out there is someone who's just going to do what he tells them to do as far, within the context of that offense, and they're going to win a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo was one pass about 2 yards away, maybe a yard away from winning the Super Bowl and probably being the MVP if he hits Emmanuel on that pass in the fourth quarter.
Well, let's say Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are watching right now, and you guys made compelling cases for both Lance and for Justin Fields. If you just convinced him not to pick Mac Jones, Lewis, how far might Jones fall in the first round?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if he gets past San Francisco and he gets past, presumably he'd get past Atlanta too, because I have not heard him connected to them at all. I think right then is when Bill starts going, okay, that being Bill Belichick, where do I need to get to? How high up do I need to go? Do I need to get 8 to Carolina? Do I need to get number 7 to Detroit? Because at 6, Miami's not going to pick him. So how far up do I need to go? What's the price I'm going to need to pay? Because he's not going to sit there and wait at 15. He's not going to. He's going to come up and try and get him. He's going to for sure want to get ahead of Denver at 9 because we don't really know what they're going to do. So I think right there, that team in particular, given the style that they like to play, would probably look at Mac Jones and say, this is really a great scenario for us if he falls to us like this. I think they move up immediately and start getting aggressive immediately, and Mac goes somewhere in the 7, 8, 9 range.
You know what, Lewis? You know who Mac Jones reminds me of? He reminds me of a quarterback that Bill Belichick drafted a couple years ago, and that is Jimmy Garoppolo. He reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo so much. He's a guy that's really going to manage the game. He's an accurate passer, but he's not going to really wow you by the way he plays the quarterback position.
Yep.
So if he does fall, I can't see Bill Belichick coming up there and getting him, because this is the same exact quarterback that he drafted in Jimmy Garoppolo, and he knows how to get the best out of these players.
Lewis, I know you don't do mock drafts. In our mock draft here at NFL Total Access, we didn't have a defensive player coming off the board until number 10. A lot of mock drafts out there have that position. Lewis, if you're looking at these defensive players, which one do you think might have the most immediate impact in 2021?
Yeah, I really do, Omar. I think their impact is going to be directly correlated to where they go and what kind of scheme they're running. So in that vein, okay, look, Micah Parsons is probably the most explosive player pound for pound on the defensive side in this draft. And I think not many people would argue with that. For him to go to Dallas, yeah, I mean, if they're going to take BPA, best player available, then they probably go ahead and take him. From a fit standpoint, in terms of what Dallas needs and how they're going to try and play with Dan Quinn's defense, then Patrick Surtain probably makes the most sense, because he's the guy from a traits perspective and from a scheme perspective is going to be used to doing what Dan wants to do defensively, given what he did down there at Alabama. Now, look, me personally, from a corner perspective, and we all know if, really doesn't matter here because we're just talking about hypotheticals, but if Caleb Farley had been healthy coming into this draft and didn't have the issues like he has with his back, I think hands down from a man coverage perspective, he's the best corner in this draft. I think the NFL, as far as corners are concerned, comes down to on third down, when it's 3rd and 4 to 5, 3rd and 4 to 6, can you cover James Jones one-on-one? Do you have a guy who can just go one-on-one with this guy? And you know what? Look, I think Caleb Farley in this draft is the only guy who's shown that he could possibly do that. Although I know, James, nobody can cover you, bro. Look, I thought you were legit. There's no question about that. But, I think he's the best corner. But who knows what Dallas is going to do at 10?
Lewis, I know everybody is expecting the Cowboys to take a cornerback, but I would beware of these Alabama cornerbacks, because if you really look at these Alabama cornerbacks that's been drafted in the first round, they have not gotten the job done. It's the only Pro Bowl cornerback has been Marlon Humphreys, and they told me it hasn't been another one since 1949. These Alabama corners, they benefit off of those 9, 10, 11 first-round guys they got up there to get after the passer. And they don't have to cover for very long in the back end. And then when they get in the NFL and they have to cover guys for a little bit longer, they do not get the job done. So this right here, for all the Cowboys fans out there that wants this guy, listen, beware, because not a lot of these corners from Alabama come out and get the job done and end up being Pro Bowl cornerbacks. Marlon Humphrey has been the only one since 1949. So I would kind of open my eyes and be looking at some of them other corners out there that really didn't have those big boys up front getting after that passer, allowing you to cover for 2 or 3 seconds. Now you're going to have to cover for 4 or 5 seconds. Can you get that done?
James Jones throwing heat on those Alabama corners. Lewis, which player might not we have been talking about? Go ahead, Lewis.
No, I was just going to add this. Look, James, you know what? Actually, I agree with you. I agree with you. As much as I respect Nick, as much as I respect his ability to teach secondary play in particular, and as much as I respect Patrick Surtain and respected his father and what he did in the league too, look, I don't think he's the best corner in this draft. I really don't. But I think because of the fact that people may have questions for one reason or another with a guy like J.C. Horn, people may have questions, obviously, with Caleb because of his ability. Because of his durability and his availability, that really Patrick's going to be elevated maybe into that spot. And I agree with you. There are some red flags with him, namely downfield speed, functional speed, man-to-man coverage ability. I'm with you there. I'm with you.
But I tell you guys one thing, the Dan Quinn defense in Dallas, and Lewis, you alluded to it, it is tailor-made for a guy like Patrick Surtain II. So if he's still available at number 10, I expect Dallas to pick him up. But you talk about impact defensive players, Lewis, you hit on it a little bit. I'm so glad you hit on it. A Penn Stater, oh yeah, Penn State LBU, okay, Michael Parsons, dog. This man runs sideline to sideline, man. He can cover guys out of the backfield, and from the middle of the defense, he has the ability to affect the quarterback in the middle of the pocket. This guy is very instinctive. And JJ, you know what I'm talking about, right? The minute he sees a hole in the middle of a pocket, he knows how to attack a quarterback and to attack a ball carrier. And then he does it with an aggressiveness and a nastiness that's infectious across an entire defense. So
by Fisher Investments. When you look at the Cowboys' projected first-round picks by our draft analyst Kwity Paye, Patrick Surtain, and Rashawn Slater by Lance Zierlein. Lance joins us now along with Rob. Lance, we want you to begin this discussion by telling us what you like about Rashawn Slater at number 10 to the Cowboys.
Well, I think one of the things I like is the fact that he is a dual position guy, really a three-position guy. He can play center, he can play guard, he can play tackle. And I think that's what I really like about him. He's played both tackle spots. He's got the guard and center ability. But I think one of the things that you have to acknowledge is this game in particular against Chase Young at Ohio State. He really looked unbelievable. And this is the game that has everyone excited. He's patient, as you can see here. He doesn't go for the inside-outside dart move. He's got great core strength. He's very, very powerful in his hands. He's got a natural ability to slide and move, even though he doesn't always look like the most fluid tackle. There he is, sliding and staying in front of people. And so I think that's something that you have to look at. Once again, you want somebody who is a little scheme versatile. And look, he's not a graceful pulling tackle, but he can get across the formation and get guys blocked. And I think when it's all said and done, I want a guy at Dallas who can help them get back to being the offensive line that can control the line of attack, get Ezekiel Elliott going, because when Dallas is at their best, they're taking some pressure off of Dak's shoulders, and they're letting Ezekiel Elliott eat. Zeke has to eat. Let that man eat. And the best way to do that is tighten up that offensive line.
Yeah, he is hungry. Duke Manyweather tweeting this out a little earlier today. Perhaps teammates getting together for the first time. Rashawn Slater and Zach Martin working out together, maybe rebuilding that great wall of Dallas. But, Rob, we know the Cowboys' defense needs a lot of help. Dan Quinn there now, the coordinator of the defense. Where do you think they should go at number 10?
Yeah, cornerback is a big need for him. And Omar, I don't know if I should say this after what James and guys said about it in the last segment. Patrick Surtain Jr., I really think that they should pick him. I think he's perfectly fit for the Dan Quinn defense, right? That cover 3 defense that always has some underneath coverage where you can see the receiver through to the quarterback. It's what made Richard Sherman famous. Is what made Richard Sherman an All-Pro in the National Football League. The ability to see the ball, and the kid has excellent ball skills. And Lance, what I love about him the most is he's a willing tackler, right? Guys on the outside willing to get physical and willing to get physical in the run game and willing to get physical tackling guys and bringing them down to the ground. So I think of Dallas at 10, if Patrick Surtain II is still there, I think it's a no-brainer. Dan Quinn's going to be pounding the table. They have to get the kid out of Alabama.
Yeah, both of those players can make a huge difference for Dallas next season. The NFL using the draft protectors and a partridge in a pear tree. Picking it up at 21 will be the Indianapolis Colts. Chris Ballard knows he has to replace left tackle Anthony Costanzo, who retired in the offseason. Has a couple other options, too.
I think it's a good draft. I think it's in terms of just all the offensive linemen as a whole, it's really good. And then for defensive end, I mean, you lose Danico Autry, Justin Houston, 2 good players, and Justin's still, out there right now. Those are big shoes to fill.
Lance, Rob, and JJ back. Lance, you heard Chris Ballard. Where are you going at 21? Colts on the clock.
I know Ballard a little bit, and one thing he loves is traits. He loves those freak daddies that can get up and down the field, can range and have the long arms. And that's what Jayson Oweh is from Penn State. I know he didn't have any sacks last year. He had 5 the year before, but let me tell you what else Ballard believes in. He believes in coaches coaching talent. And this is a freaky athlete, a sub 4.4 40, an explosive leaper. He shows all the traits of being a potentially dominant rusher once he gets coached up. And I think that's the key, unlocking that talent with coaching. And Ballard is a guy that likes to swing the bat when it comes to traits-based pass rushers. So I'm going to stick with a guy with great traits, and I'm going Jayson Oweh from Penn State.
I know you love that pick, M-Rob. You're up next at number 2022 and the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans, they go up front and get themselves a tackle out of the Big Ten, out of Michigan. Jalen Mayfield, this dude is a mauler. He's aggressive at the point of attack. You want to run right behind this guy, and he definitely fits that aggressive running style of the Tennessee Titans, right? He's a guy that can pick a man up and move them to the side, and you can run right behind him. And guys, what I like is his attitude. His attitude is always there. He sticks on blocks. And again, this guy can step in right now and be your starting right tackle. The Tennessee Titans lost both of their tackles last year, in Dennis Kelly and Isaiah Wilson. So they need depth at the position, and I think this guy can give them that.
So with Taylor Lewan coming back from injury, the Titans pick up another Michigan man. Okay, 23, the New York Jets. This one coming from the Seahawks in that Jamal Adams trade. JJ, you're up next.
Well, the first running back is off the board, and is Alabama, Najee Harris. Listen, what is a quarterback's best friend? You are going to take Zach Wilson. What's a quarterback's best friend? The running back. And a running back that can do it all. He can run in between the tackles. He can make people miss. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. This is the guy that you want to get to go with Zach Wilson, and you have a backfield tandem for a very, very, very long time in New York, and this will be very dangerous with these two dudes starting their career off at the same time with Zach Wilson and Najee Harris.
James Jones, a Bay Area native, showing that Bay Area love to Najee Harris. Number 24, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Lance.
Yeah, home of the thick linebackers. I'm going to go back. I'm going to take you way back to Levon Kirkland, the original thick linebacker. He was from Pittsburgh. He was a Steeler. I'm going to go back to that same type of linebacker, and we're going to bring in Zaven Collins from Tulsa. Zaven Collins won just about every award that you can imagine. The guy's between 260 and 270 pounds. He runs great. He, by the way, wears his weight well. That's not really a problem. He runs well. He's got sideline to sideline range. He has some blitz potential, and that's very important if you're going to play for the Steelers. The ability to play outside, the ability to play inside, and he can drop and cover as well. Extremely instinctive out in space in spot drop coverage. So I'm going to take a big, fast, athletic linebacker. We're going to stick him inside for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's what we're doing at number 24.
Collins has steal of the draft written all over him. Was a high school state championship winning quarterback, was valedictorian as well. Okay, up next, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 25. This pick coming by way of the Jalen Ramsey trade, M-Rob.
Yes, and they're going to take a ball-hawking safety out of TCU, Trevon Moehrig. This kid is the definition of what a football player is. He's always throwing his body around, a sure tackler. You're not going to break into the second level as a back or catch a screen as a wide receiver, and this kid is not going to be around you. Okay, he only allowed a 55 passer rating when he was in coverage. That was second amongst safeties in college since 2019. This dude understands how to get to the ball. He understands how to make the tackle, and he understands how to play the safety position. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars got them a player.
So Trevor Lawrence with number 1 overall for the Jaguars. Trayvon at number 25 for the Jags. Up next, the Cleveland Browns at 26, JJ.
You know what, Omar? I'm going to leave the name to you, but in the locker room, we give nicknames. So this is Big J, I'm going to call him. But Omar, for the people, go ahead and give him the name.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
There it is right there, man. You got a guy that you can plug into your defense right now, an impact player to go out there and make plays for you. You already got your Davion Clowney. You have Myles Garrett. Now you put another athletic guy on the defensive side of the ball. Look out for the Cleveland Browns front seven. They are going to be problems if they plug this dude in right here with already what they have on that defense. This is a very good pick if they're able to get their hands on this kid late in the draft.
I was saying that name over and over over at the dinner table the other night. My kids were looking at me, Dad, what are you doing, man? All right, Lance, you're up next. Number 27, the Baltimore Ravens, the first of their now 2 picks in the first round.
Jalen Phillips. See how I ran the card up to the commissioner right there? I mean, you know what I like? If I've got a team that lost 2 pass rushers in the offseason, in Ngakoue and Matt Judon, I'm going to get a long-levered pass rusher that's got some juice off the edge. And he's a guy that you can also take inside as well. So this is kind of a prototype of what I think Baltimore is going to be looking for. And if he makes it this far, which he has in this particular mock draft, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't run the card up there, especially for a talented player and such a big need for the Ravens, which is outside pass rush.
Lance couldn't run that card up fast enough. Hey, number 28, the New Orleans Saints, and Rob, the post-Breeze draft era begins with
Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, slot receiver. This kid is a burner in the slot, right? You want to get this kid the ball as fast as possible and let him fly down the field. Now, you got Jameis Winston as your quarterback, and what a way to stop him from pushing the ball downfield and possibly throwing an interception by getting a guy who can get open right now, and he has the speed to go 80. He reminds me of a Tyler Lockett, and then when he gets the ball, he reminds me of a Leon Washington, a kick returner that I used to play with. When this guy gets the ball, he is explosive. And I think New Orleans Saints, they're going to be happy to have this slot receiver.
Can help replace Emmanuel Sanders. Number 29, your Green Bay Packers, James.
You know what, Omar? I think it's finally going to happen. They get Aaron Rodgers, a first-round wide receiver, and it is LSU Terrace Marshall, this guy to the Green Bay Packers on the other side of Devontae Adams, another guy that could stretch the field. We already know what D.A. brings, but this is a big-time playmaker to go with AR-12, Aaron Rodgers on that offense. This is exactly what the Packers need to do. Finally, Aaron Rodgers gets him a first-round draft pick wide receiver. Not saying that his low-round draft pick receivers weren't good, but finally he gets his hands on the number round 1 draft pick.
It'd be the Packers' first-round wide receiver since Javon Walker in 2002. Bills Mafia up next at number 30, Lance.
I thought James was going to troll and take Kyle Trask, just get another quarterback this year, just to troll Aaron Rodgers up. I'm gonna go with Bills Mafia with Caleb Farley. So Caleb Farley has some injury concerns. That's the only reason he would slide to this spot. But once he gets down in this territory, and if your medicals are okay with that back that he had injured, then it's going to be very hard not to pull the trigger on a cornerback with this kind of size, length, toughness. He's played corner for 2 years. This guy is a former offensive player, so he's still getting better and better and better. He's learning the position. When he already has these traits and this ability this quick in the process of playing corner, that's the kind of player that you say, you know what? If we're okay with that back, let's get that extra year. Let's get that 5th year, take him in the first, lock him down, pair him with Tre'Davious White, and we're good to go.
So Lance stops Farley's slide. Up next now at 31, the Baltimore Ravens, M-Rob.
Tevin Jenkins, tackle out of Oklahoma State, 6'6", 320 pounds. And again, they have another aggressive mauler, a guy that sticks on blocks. And what I love about this guy, guys, this dude likes to finish. This dude likes to drive defenders into the ground. This dude wants you to physically